So here we are, Wellington to start. And yeah, I mean, Wellington's rating is pretty much higher, but it doesn't really say very much. I think it's going to be quite a closely contested match. And we're hoping for one, I'm sure.
Yeah, for those who might be ratings geeks, as far as wondering in this case, Wellington, I believe, has a provisional rating, just given the lack of games specific to North American play. So that's part of it, because he's had obviously an excellent result in that tournament that we saw with Charles earlier in Albany. So yeah, doesn't mean he's obviously is an extremely good player. It's just because it's a provisional rating, it is able to swing up and swing down a little bit more easily, just as he gets more experience in this particular part of the world.
Yeah, and we see Wellington here with waiver, and he's also considering Farek, which well keeps W and B. Uh, which do you prefer actually, Jesse? Do you prefer playing the C and B off? Do you prefer keeping?
I like waiver a little bit more. I mean, neither combination is super ideal, but I think waiver I just like a little bit more than Varric. I think Varric just really restricts the board, and unlike Varric, waiver forks the board to me, as far as like you can build it to the right and the left of the V. Um, it just really just kind of splits the board in this way, but it doesn't necessarily close it in the same way. Varric, it just, other than hooking the C with an H, all you can really do is
Mhm.
play through the letters, and I don't like what Varric does for the board early on. Um, those for me personally are the kinds of games that I hate having to play through. So I like waiver.
Yeah, I think Varek also maybe a little bit too easy to overlap, on top of the ARE, so and below as well. So maybe that's something that he wants to avoid in this situation. Uh, so Waiver has interesting Benjamin in
New
his
waiver.
opposition. Yeah, and well, I wonder whether we'll see that this game. But at this juncture, Charles has a bingo. He has a high scoring bingo as well. As mentioned in the chat, Arcadius. Now, if he's seen that and if he's sure of it, he should have played it. But he might be a little unsure, just on making sure that yeah, he's seen it. And he has to make sure that he plays, obviously, as a double double. Would be a mistake not to do so. Okay, he decides to play the safer option. I mean, what he's sure of, I guess he's probably a little unsure of Arcadius. Slight point sacrifice there. Um, Acarids, Cardias, Ascarid, and he decides to play Acarids for 77 points.
Yeah, maybe that he was somewhat unsure, like you were saying. As a trivia point, Arcadia is a city that's in the greater Los Angeles area in general, and as an American, that possibly might have crept into his thinking a little bit, just creating some of that doubt. It's hard to say for sure what's going on in there, but just as human factors, if you're not 100% sure, maybe you're thinking, oh, I'm inventing this because it's a city name, or oh, I'm inventing this because of insert reason here. But that could be one possibility, given Charles is an American. But in this case, he should have no trouble with getting something down next turn, given his lovely draw. Over to Wellington.
Yeah, he has a few interesting choices here. I mean, he can play he looks like he's going to play Acetyl, which scores a nice 34 points, probably his highest scoring play right now. But he could also play short. He could also do something like BY uh, on the right of Akaritz, which scores 28 points, keeps elect. I think he's deciding to go a bit longer. Might be worth it. I think Isato also gives him a nice place for his B on top. And just take the points because he's behind at the moment. And we see that Charles has picked up the blank, and he's very likely going to play a bingo now. Um, do you see any great plays? I mean, I do see there is double double at least through the A. It's probably quite a few available. Well, there's two available actually. Um, yeah, what do you see, Jesse?
I'm just permuting through all the possibilities in my head at the moment. A is I will never be one of those people who does the blank bingos very quickly. For those who play on Aerolith, a lovely tool that was developed by Cesar del Solar, an expert player from the United States. I was never one of those people who finished the blank bingos quickly. So I'm just permuting through the options. I do see one that's also been mentioned in the chat. There is Undaring as the one that I've finally managed to to slowly get to. I haven't found a second one yet, but maybe you
Yeah,
can reveal that for us.
so I spotted the other one and not Andere. I spotted Riga Udon. Uh,
Oh yes, nice, nice.
yeah. Uh, and interesting. I mean, curious that there's no four timer with through the R, but yeah, I will probably spend quite a bit of time on that on this turn, just just making sure. And Wellington has drop arranged on his rack, drop place on the left of Akaritz. Um, he is also thinking of Jabot. Oh, is that right pronunciation? Habot?
For that particular word, if it's a French word, it'd be jabot.
Jabot. Okay.
The T is not pronounced, and then the J has more of the J sound. When I wasn't pronouncing the Turkish word correctly yesterday, that Rebecca so kindly fixed for me, I was pronouncing it in more of a French way, which in this case would apply, given this word is French. It is jabot, if you want to say it very nice in français.
Mhm. Well, would you play uh, Job or Habot or however you pronounce it, Jabot?
In this case, if I do a quick little comparison, so job would be, let's see, 16, 33, 34. So it's 43, I think, for job. And then if you compare it to Jabot, you have 16, 17, 21. They're basically the same thing in
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it really comes down to your school of thought, just because both are similar as far as what they leave the rack. I think just by pure static value for what's left over, Job would have the slight edge, not considering the board, just because ESTS is so strong. I mean, ESS is certainly pretty nice by its own right, but ESTS, I think, considered on its own, is really good, and that would lean me slightly more to Job. I think in a different case where Acetyl hadn't already opened the board up, I would play Jabot. Um, but I think Job for me, they're both really close plays though. Uh, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think the key thing for me is that the fact that Acetyl is already open and there are spots around the board that that opponent can score, you can score. So job, um, even though I think that the thing about job is that it sets up potential high scoring plays for the opponent, especially with the BIZ available. So if the opponent pick up the Z from the seven tile pick, um, which is possible, you're giving him an easy 60, 70 points. Um, But yeah, with Estoril open, I think that's also a spot where Charles can score quite a lot of points. So you might not need to be that defensive minded in that position. And as you mentioned, keeping SETS is slightly better than ESS. So my own personal thought is to play job. But yeah, I think it's really close. And I think Wellington also um, keeping ESS is also pretty good lead. So I mean, it's really close between two options.
So Charles, putting down fumed in the top right, scores really well. In the chat, there was mention of the consideration of puked in the exact same place as far as an alternative play. And I think maybe just while we're waiting for Wellington to make his next move, that's probably worth us diving in a little bit into, because I can immediately think of a few things as far as one versus the other. But I will turn the floor to you, Weibin. How do you feel when you consider, say, puked versus fumed?
Yeah, I mean, you have to look for the spots to play the tiles that you keep, right? So I think the K and the P, the obvious spot for the K is below um Jabot, and yeah, so you can do okay and use the play parallel, but you can do the same if you have the F, right? So or the M. Yeah, it's so I think it's pretty in terms of the next move wise, it looks pretty similar. The F might be even better as well because there are actually two triple letter scores that he can put the F, he can use the F with. So beside Undaring and beside Akaritz. So maybe keeping the F is worth it. Yeah, that's just my thought about it. So I might pick Puked if I were in that position. He might also be thinking that if he plays Puked, there is an option of the opponent can potentially underlap the KY and get some score there as well. But I don't think that's a very major issue with that play with that spot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've pretty much covered everything I would have wanted to say, so I'm going to add nothing. Just say thank you. Well done. That is why you are the analyst here, good sir. Thank you for that insight. And Wellington going for, I mean, it's pretty hard to turn down this play. Pharaohs it balances pretty nicely, scores really well, doesn't restrict the board really in any major way other than the T and Jabot not being usable anymore. I think, for the points and just what it does, certainly a standout.
Yeah. Uh, and yeah, I mean, it just pointed out that Wellington's play of Pharaohs actually sets up pretty well for Charles because especially because of there's no BOF and BOM, so but it's BOK and BOP, so keeping the K and P somehow the right choice for for him. He's going to play something like I don't know Pike or yeah, Pike's going to score quite a lot of points for him. Just through the eye of accurates. Yeah, and it was pointed out that the best simulating play FOO by Wellington, and I think FOO is yeah, I agree. FOO might be slightly better as well, keeping both S's, but also the A, which probably slightly preferred over the O. Um, and I think what we see is that the choice of Pharaohs has also opened up a big scoring spot for Charles. So that's also a potential response that could come about with Pharaohs. So Fu would have been my preference. Suggestion of White in that same spot of with Pike, which might do well because of it plays the W off. Yeah. So, what would you play pike or would you play white in this position?
I think anything that allows me to unload the W is always going to be considerable. At the same time, it is hard to turn down pike just purely for the point value. Uh, I have a hard time keeping the woo, as we like to call it, the WU combo. I have a really hard time keeping that if it's avoidable. Um, Having said that, Pike just puts Charles up by a considerable number. So I mean, I'm waffling back and forth just thinking about it. But you can afford to keep something that's not necessarily the greatest when you already have a pretty decent sized lead. So uh, yeah, I think I just like to remove. I I think I'm a little more preventive in nature than I should be, and that's why I'm not a table one playing. I probably would play an option involving the W so that I can get rid of the woo if it's avoidable. But I totally see Pike as a very strong, reasonable play. I just probably wouldn't myself.
Yeah, it is a 10-point difference, and I think the other thing that now the tiles have been placed on the board, you do see that Japer is also playable. So if Charles were to pick up an E, he would have been able to play something like Wet and Japer, which continues his scoring streak and extends his lead even further. So that might be a consideration. Um, yeah, but he's picked up the blank, so I think even better than the E.
And he's got the W for new waivers if he were to not get into a bingo land and instead pick up NE in some form. Uh, when I look at the board right now, I can see Charles can essentially kill the bottom left quadrant. Uh, PIU surely would not be the best play points wise necessarily next turn in most cases, but certainly makes Wellington's life quite difficult. Um, but over to Wellington in the meantime, with no home for Hoolies, instead creating himself a little setup opportunity here, given he has the S.
Yeah, I'm looking at the simulation, and I mean not the simulation, at least the static choice, and it is the top static play. So it seems like quite likely that it's gonna sim pretty well as well. Um, he he does need to give himself some more opportunities to get back into the game. 120 points, I think something like he's setting up his S for something that reaches the triple word score. Um, yeah, I think he's on the verge of desperation, I think, in this game. But you can see
Yeah,
that yeah, you can't see any expression on his face, right? I mean, it's still you can't tell whether he's winning or losing, really.
he has made an unfortunate pull after his setup play. That'll be challenging for him to navigate on the next turn. Over to Charles, who's got the clunky woo combination, but also the blank as mentioned, and is going to be thinking about how he can ideally obstruct the board in some way in that setup area, or at least restrict options if not completely um, obstruct it. So Wabi's got lined up. I would imagine that would be down, creating ow and ha, just to be like, okay, well, you at least have to use a B, if anything. It doesn't give up any uh, triple triple in the process, so um, you can see his line of logic there.
Yeah, I mean, he actually quite a few options to where to play Warp and maybe BAW as well for. Uh, so I think the question is, does he want to restrict the S? I mean, I guess U telegraphs quite strongly telegraphs an S, so he will probably want to maximize his score and play Warp, I think. But of course, there is some danger with Warp as well because of the back hooks of OW.
And he doesn't have any. reasonable plays down, making a go, or any 4 going down. So he has to consider options on the right side of oo instead. And, wob you can understand. But as you've mentioned, the major downside is parallel plays immediately to the right of wob as opposed to bingos. As it turns out, Wellington does have the ideal situation for his unideal rack in that he will be able to play alongside wob to score a fair bit despite not having the best tiles. For pure length, Ali or Ilya or really any number of things can go there. Given the number of eyes in the pool, Ilya to me stands out as the options that he can play just to minimize the chances of unideal duplication. What do you think, Weibin?
Mm, I might differ. I mean, I might keep the IES. Yeah, I think there are also a lot of E's in the bag. So, um, yeah, I'm not sure. I might just keep EIS. I don't think it's yeah. I mean, but I think they're very close moves anyway. So you can see that he's picked up an eye. So I think he made the right choice. And wow, okay. So looking at Charles Rack, actually, he had quite pretty well. I would say then a pretty obvious choice of a pugilist um, through the eye. But now Wellington has actually given him a spot for a better play, and he seems to have spotted it. As he spotted that he found the spot for it. The front hook of Ilea, Pilea, which he spots it. That's his best play. Yeah, Pugilist scores 7 fewer points. Probably not worth it in my view.
So if you're Charles and you're aware going into this game, so if we talk about the human factors here as well, they are the 2 7 and 1 players. They both have nice spreads, but Charles is behind by it looks like almost 300 in spread. Then running up the score in a way that you're certain of is a decent line of thought. So if he is not 100% sure of uplight and fears it coming off, and you see pugilist and you're 100% sure of it, then you would play that to continue to run up the score and give yourself a chance to go up on Wellington by 1 game, but also go ahead of him as much as possible on spread. And this is when you're playing in these events that are longer, the spread management factor is also something to consider. And yeah, you can totally understand if you're even a little bit unsure why you would just play pugilist instead.
Yeah, I think yeah. Just to note that I mentioned on the chat as well. Uplight also blocks pipe hooks, the pike hooks, so it might be worth considering. But yeah, I mean, I think any bingo is gonna do well. So Wellington opens Weibin, which gives him a chance at the 9 timer. But pretty sure Charles is going to do something to restrict that line right now.
I think if you look at this board, you're always just thinking, what are the worst case scenarios given my chances of winning are extremely high in a static sense. What is really the only way I can lose? And realistically, just when you look at the pool, you see, okay, there are letters that combine well together that I don't have from my point of view. There's also the Z and the X still out there. So a worst case scenario involves either a triple triple and the high counting tiles in sequence, or multiple bingos that include the high counting tiles. So the thing to do is exactly what he's done, just any play that takes out the triple option, and yeah, make your opponent have multiple bingos that may or may not include the high counters. I think, yeah, you just got to play anything there basically and just make your opponent have what's improbable.
Okay, so Charles plays border. Seems like the right choice to just close off that lane. Uh, Basically, the only way he can lose, I guess, this juncture. Wellington with I mean he's trying to think what other creative plays he can make to score and
Oh, Weibin, I have a fun little puzzle
yeah.
for you. There is a standout play for Charles, um, and I would think this is in your wheelhouse. This word. I'm not going to say anything about.
I see it.
Do you? Okay. Probably a little bit longer than people might be thinking. Other than that,
Well,
I will say nothing. I just figured I'd see you're extremely good, so I figured you probably spotted it right away. But Charles has a standout play that I don't see being blocked.
and well, I guess he will play it. I don't see him missing it as well. It's wow, what a game.
This will be some content for
Yes.
those of you out there who are here for the content. I think there's a pretty good chance that Charles finds the play that we are trying not to say out loud and leave for you to spot and perhaps write in the chat. Oh, I do see at least one person has written it. I'm still not going to say it out loud in case there are people who are not looking at the chat just yet. But nice spot. Yeah, we're here for the content, and hopefully it will come down. All right, at least one more person has spotted it and written it. Wellington has played Oxide, so let's see. Does Charles spot the 9? There we go. We'll give a nice little hint for those who aren't reading the chat yet. Still, there is a 9 that is playable.
Yeah, I think that if you spot the line and you think about it, you would most definitely see it, I think. But um, the question is whether he has looked at the line or if he's thinking of, just maximizing his score. Like, he has, okay.
Very nice. We're here for the content. Yes.
Okay. Amazing. And no change in Wellington's expression, whatever. He might be holding it, but you know,
That's just too good. Nice play, Charles.
and he accepts it. So very, very nice play by Charles, taking this game, storming through this game, in fact. And high score for Wellington as well. Set and he places the S as well. It's going to net him probably in the region of 60 points, 69 points, in fact. Nice. Yeah, fighting words on the board. Pugilist and Battalion. On that basis, I think, Pugilist is better than Uplight.
Yep.
Yeah,
The content play. He foresaw himself drawing Battalion. That's exactly what it was.
And Pike. Yeah, quite a bit of battles. going on. Yeah, so I guess, you know, Charles can just do something like Nim just to just to pick up another 30 points, get in above 500. Uh, Something like him would also score more points than Nim, but him takes an S front hook, so he would want to avoid that. So Nim basically unduplicates his I's and N's. Pretty standard choice in my view.
Also, I wanted to point out, while it is 140, give or take, spread points of difference here, all of the bingos on the board belong to Charles. And Wellington is still scoring decently well, despite not having a bingo in this game. So we have highlighted, Battalion, of course, as a great play from Charles. He's played Undaring as a double-double. But Wellington's created scoring opportunities. In fact, if you look at Jabot, Pharaohs, Pike, and Zeds, those are all Wellington's plays that stack on top of each other.
Yeah, well, Charles was the one who played Pike, but
Oh, sorry, Pike,
lots of
yes.
scoring.
Jabot, Pharaohs,
Yeah,
and Zeds, yes.
lots of
But
scoring this game. Yeah,
Wellington is scoring well despite having no bingos.
yeah. I mean, this move right now, it just seems he just plays the Y and fishes something. Um, there's the maybe obscure hook of ego that he can use. Question is, what does he play in that position? YO maybe sufficient, or GAY.
Yeah, I think either of those are perfectly fine. I think, yeah, basically just playing anything there that's a two-tile play works out pretty well. The pool is more or less even on the vowel to consonant ratio. It looks like Wellington's considering playing longer, but with 4 in the bag, I'm not sure if playing off 4 is the way to go here.
Yeah,
The other point of consideration that was nicely brought up in the chat is besides fishing, anything played involving ego takes out an obvious Q spot. If you're looking to minimize your opponent's spread, but um, at this point, maybe he doesn't play there because he's hoping um, to get the Q and score and reduce the spread differential. But I think at this point he just needs to score and ideally fish, as you're saying, and just not worry too much about pulling the Q. He's already lost. He knows that. But he's going to try and minimize. And I think more often than not, minimizing spread here involves fishing and bingoing. So I would be surprised if he follows through and plays Yanni.
yeah. I mean, I think now the question is for me is whether I want to play the A for 5 more points or play the O and have a slightly better leave. But I think in this case, the 5 points are just probably, yeah, probably worth it. Um, and there is an A in the bag as well, so um, ION may work out if because there is an N open N at behind the last tile of battalion, so it's not too bad. Um, yeah, but Charles has multiple spots for his Q. He has the U available, the U of pugilist. He has a few spots for QI. So I think I think his play is gonna be dependent on what's available right after Wellington's play. Yeah, he can also play something like OY beside Auli, but like beside OWL, but that kind of restricts one of his possible bingo lines. Uh, yeah,
I think if you're ahead in this position, then that would be a great play to, say, to groom your rack and limit your opponent's options. But when you're behind like this, yeah, I think ego and yo is uh, either that or gay would be the play. I think both are perfectly fine. Uh, yeah, Owly and Oi, I think you would more likely consider if you happen to be ahead in this case. But I like this.
yep. And Charles now has, yeah, I think pretty much QI clear play for him, but he would probably want to pick the one above battalion to block off a few lines. Um, or, he could also be going for spread. Then in that case, he would play QI in the other position. We'll see what he decides. Doesn't make a difference to the result. It's just spread now they're talking about. But either of the Q plays would empty the bag, and I think he's thinking whether that's worth it. He does have the option of just playing the Q if he wants. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's possible that he can maybe play just the Q and uh, think about whether he can actually take a bingo in two spots. Maybe that's what he's thinking about.
I'm just counting the letters on the board. I think the unseen tiles may be slightly off from Charles' point of view. So let's see, how many G's do we have? Two.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an I instead of an E.
Okay.
Yeah, so quite a few possibilities, I think. For example, if he plays just a Q, he can potentially draw like Arshine and Seraphine, uh, Heparins. If he just plays the Q, yeah. But I think doing this is fine as well. I mean, he actually still has the option of potentially picking IS. And yeah, yep. It pointed out that above battalion scores one more. Yeah, so it works both in terms of score and strategically as well. Yeah. And Wellington arranging his rack as AU, which interestingly enough seems to be one of his best options. Gives him two spots to go out at least. He has PNIE as well as AINEE and AENEI from the A that he opens with SAU. This is SAU hooking on to Pugilist, by the way. But he's playing PNIE first, which is apparently a point worse, but still a very good option. Maybe because it opens something like Regna or Charles. Yeah, so there are a few five-letter word plays that Charles can now play on the left of TNIE. He has Regna, Rager, and Rigar. All of them scored 31 points. It's basically academic at this stage. And Rager on the board now. Great play.
Wellington will put down Sow or Saw. I'm not sure how to say this. I think it's a coin, right? He'll put this down pretty quickly to end the game, and we'll cut to the mic once they wrap up the scores to see what they have to say.